So we are going to cover quickly what's called teamwork, explaining the different use cases from a user point of view, from an admin point of view. Then we explain the use case that we want to cover more in detail, which is about creating a project template and what requirements we have for that template. And then we have time for questions, but we are so a small round here. So if you have questions, come up with your questions at any time. We are flexible. We can incorporate that as part of our session. And I wanted to show you, no, like this is a joke. This slide here has been always there, right? So that's a joke actually. So I'm not going to repeat the message here. I think this was shown already like 6 times. In any case, so what's Teamwork for? Teamwork is a standalone product, staff-based product. Someone fixed that. For provisioning and governance in Microsoft 365. Exactly, so it's very focused on the concept of governance and provisioning and simplifying the findability of workspaces in Microsoft 365. So when I talk about workspaces, we're talking about a Microsoft Teams team, Yammer connected group, or a SharePoint more than team site, can also be a SharePoint communication site. So basically all of these collaboration spaces where employees are working on, this is what we define as workspaces. And with Teamwork, you can basically create templates that are aligned with the company policies, so that then the key users in the organization, let's talk, for example, about the HR. When they are onboarding new employees, they can just create, for example, a team that's ready to go, that has everything pre-configured, and they can basically, let's say the HR coordinator, focus on the main task that is like to onboard the new employees, starting to have to configure everything over and over again. I will move things here a bit so you can, how do I do that the best here? Let me share bring this here.
Also use your Windows button.
Yeah, extend, right? Yeah. Okay, understand. Right.
Windows up, and then it's full screen.
Move the mouse over there. Okay. And zoom out a bit. Okay. Okay. So this area here in Valo Teamwork, well, I think Felicia was talking previously about the persona. So who are the users using Valo Teamwork? We have the ordinary users side of the organization. They mostly come inside of this part of Teamwork, which we call the Teamwork dashboard. And here it's all about simplifying the findability of your collaboration spaces. As a user, you might be involved in different projects. This can be one area, so you might be also part of some HR activities, or you might be involved in communication-related things. For all of that, usually it's very common in Microsoft 365 to create workspaces for different scenarios. And with Teamwork, we provide an overview about all of these different workspaces, collaboration spaces that you have. So all of that is visible as a user. If you have access to something, as an owner, as a member, it gets displayed here. We differentiate between like the group-based workspaces and the site-based workspace. So a group-based workspace is basically the teams, the Yammers, and the modern SharePoint sites. And then we have the section with sites that can be currently also a classic publishing site in case you have still companies using that, or the communication sites. Right, from here as a user, I have a search based on the display name of my workspaces. I can filter by categories. A category would be, for example, a template that we are going to create. So here I have different names of templates. One is a project template. So that could be a way to find it. But I can filter based on metadata, based on the state, like is the workspace still active or archived. So that's possible. So finding this workspace is one of the things that as an ordinary user, I come here for. And then another scenario that's also relevant for the ordinary users, or also what we call like key users in the organization, is being able to request, to create those workspaces. So if you go for Microsoft Teams, maybe you have done that already, you can create a team, right? usually a blank team, you go there quickly, create your team, and start configuring everything. The use case of teamwork is different. So we are not providing the ability for creating these blank teams or workspace in general. They are all serving a specific purpose. So if we go here in the request workspace, as a user, I get access to templates. And this is the entry point for requesting a workspace based on a specific use case. Let me zoom a bit in here. So you see templates for different use cases that have been created either by the administrator of the organization who has collected the requirement from different departments, or it has been created maybe by a key user. We have one example here that's HR onboarding. Maybe the HR coordinator has predefined already the template with everything that's required for an onboarding process. And then during the work, it's basically just coming here, selecting the correct template. We have a form that's actually very intuitive and has some steps that guides the user through the creation process. So here it's about providing some basic information about your workspace. For example, here the title makes it very simple. So I provide a test. This form has some level of intelligence. For example, it checks like, okay, has this template, does this workspace that I want to create, does it already exist? So we have some checks happening in the background, and we provide that information to the user. So if this template already, this workspace already exists, we show that to the user, they get that information, then they get at least a suggestion that, hey, avoid creating the same template workspace with the same name. You might bring confusion inside the organization. So after providing this basic information, you move to a section which is about security and privacy. So here it's about applying sensitivity labels, defining if you want to have an external user or not, or defining if the workspace will be public or private. As you can see here, some of the settings have already been predefined by the administrator who created the template. For example, the admin said, right, so onboarding teams will be private. So all the new onboarding teams will be private. You don't see here as a user the option for selecting the external users. So this option was removed by an administrator when they defined the template. So that's the part of governance that we also talk about. So not much for me to be done here. It's more informative page. And here you get a section where you can provide information about the membership. So as an admin, I can influence how and what people will get access to this workspace already when creating the template. I could have predefined owners, or I could set, you should have like a policy, like a minimum amount of owners where you have to set at least, like, let's say 2 owners as a good practice. So here looks good, let's leave it as is. And then usually there is also a section with metadata. So what are these metadata there for? It's about helping people later to find this workspace. So you have metadata based on different use cases. This here is about the HR, and here we have manager and mentor. In a project, we are going to have probably a project ID, project start date, end date, and so on. After all of that is done, you can come here and submit this request. And that means, depending on the configuration that again was applied at template level, either this workspace will be created immediately without any process in between, or you could say, right, so for some type of workspaces, I want to have an approval process in between. So someone needs to verify that everything that was requested is correct before having that created, which avoids the sprawl of content, like people creating things, a lot of workspaces for the same topic. Okay.
It's a SharePoint list item which is created.
Right.
You can also use Power Automate to create really get in that tool workflow works. It's really simple. It's Power Automate. Can do with it.
Thank you. So this is from the user point of view. What happens now? I have requested this workspace. It will get created in the background. And then at some point it appears here. I'll get a notification as a user that the workspace was created. that works. Now moving to the other part, which is the teamwork admin area. I'm not sure how good the quality is. Yeah. So this part of the product here is for specific users, either like the administrators or some users who should have access to this area. It could be, again, like the HR coordinator or people who should be allowed, for example, to approve a request process, or maybe even like create and maintain the templates. I will just start from mouse here. Right. Okay. I'll go through all the tabs and then I'll hand over to Ruth, who will then explain the use case. We have this section here with the teamwork orders I mentioned previously, so the thing with the approval process, and Ruth mentioned all these items here. They are basically SharePoint list items. So here we display again, we read the information from a SharePoint list and display it here. So as a user can come here and quickly have a look at, or have an overview about, okay, so here I have requests that are still pending approval, or maybe I would see here that I can filter here depending on types. So all the types here get all types, but I could also say, okay, give me just things that status, sorry. So status, I have the things that have been ordered. I could now get things that have already been completed. So you get an overview of your requests and what is the status behind it. So approve is pending, or it has been approved, or it has been already created. Then we have a section with the templates. We are going to focus more here. Just show quickly. So here you get an overview of your templates, and you can request new templates, create basically new templates, and you can also apply many configuration options to your template. So it goes about identifying like the identity of the template, the name, description, the accent color thing that I mentioned today in the previous session, and it has a lot of different settings for different scenarios. Privacy, ability to set like a sensitivity label. You have the out-of-the-box like privacy thing with public and private, allowing external users or not. So the topic about membership, defining minimum amount of owners and members, mandatory owners or members. Policies here, it's all about like naming policies, defining a prefix, a suffix for the display name, or for URL. You can provide ban words. So if you, let's say, one use case is universities. We have many customers in this sector, and they use Teamwork, for example, for creating study groups. So in that, they don't want the students to come up with any words. So they use this setting here to have some list of words that they want to ban. Right. We have also life cycle that is for some reason not displayed here. Interesting. Metadata is what I mentioned previously, so helping people to find your workspace afterwards. This scenario we had with HR was the mentor and the manager, but it can be any type of metadata. And the metadata is basically a content type in SharePoint. So we are not creating any new concept. It's basically using what Microsoft has to offer. Association, which is basically associating to a hub site. So if you are creating an intranet, Teamwork could help there. So you would have the association either on a hub site out of the box or a Valo Internet hub site. Well, also support for terms and conditions. So maybe if you want, as part of the ordering process, if you want to have a terms and conditions button that people need to say, okay, so I acknowledge the terms and conditions before being able to request a workspace. And finally, a very rich section with provisioning. It's about all about provisioning engines and features that get provisioned. So we have support for the site designs, also known to nowadays as site templates, PNP templates, features. The list here, this template that we selected, I think I selected a SharePoint template based on the settings here. Let me just move a bit. Team. Here we should also have like the team templates. Okay, scroll down. Okay. There we should have also like actually the Teams template. So you could also not only use like site templates, PNP templates, but also the out-of-the-box Teams templates, like a project template. So if you would like to extend a teamwork workspace with such a template, that would be possible. And it's also possible like to install the Valo intranet features, like events, all those features that you can activate from Valo intranet. It's possible so to activate them from Valo Teamwork, so that your workspace would get created already with all of those features enabled.
And also with adding tenants, you can have the classroom template, etc. Right?
Yes, exactly. So if you have a customer who is who use an education tenant, there the configuration is different. So you don't have like the same type of templates or of teams, for example. They are more focused on classrooms. So this is a scenario that you also supported with Teamwork. So creating those classroom templates, and we have customers using that also very heavily. Well, we have a section. It's difficult to move right now. This section here provides an overview about all the group-based workspaces you have in your tenant. So all the teams get listed here. So as an admin, well, I just have 25 teams or groups in my tenant, so the list is short. But in large environment, so you have an overview of all these teams, and you can perform different operations here. So one scenario that I like to show is, for example, right, now give me Teamwork all the workspaces that don't have an owner. So you can from here take the ownership, assign new owners to this workspace. From here you can do actually many other operations. You have the filtering options, and you have a section here with actions. Those are now turned off, but if we select something, so this one is archived, bad example. This one is active. So here you can, for example, archive your team from here. You could restore this team if it was archived. You can apply a lifecycle policy, and so on. All right, we have also an area with settings where you can, well, either give feedback to the team directly from here. We have the web parts, like this is related like to this penetration test that we have conducted. So we had to move one setting from the Valo Teamwork dashboard to this area, and this is a place where you can configure that. It's about define that users can also see private groups inside of the organization. So if you want to enable that, that needs to be done from here. One thing that's missing here that I have noticed now is like the lifecycle policies. And we tested recently, it's a bad example now, like in the past we used to have Teamwork Enterprise, Teamwork Standard. So we have like basically two different types of licenses. This is not the case anymore since 2022, so this environment still has like this setting, but I think on your environment you will be able to show that. Sorry for this. And we have a section of analytics, which is all about analytics around the workspace that you have created with Teamwork. What templates have been applied, what's about the life cycle in these templates, or privacy. If you have here, for example, an HR onboarding, let's go to the privacy section. And let's say you don't want actually to have that as a public, so you could see from here on a very high level, okay, so here we have one workspace, one HR onboarding team that has the privacy public, so that should actually be changed, and from here you could start to take some actions. And you also have like an overview about the trends, how many teams are people creating, when, and yeah, like you also get this information from Teamwork. Okay, now moving to these slides. The use case that Ruud will focus on is about creating a project template. We have some requirements. Let's say you got that from the project team or from the project management office. That would be a source for information in the organization. So they want to have a specific prefix. They want to have 2 mandatory owners. They want to force the life cycle based on the project end date. So when the project end date has been reached, then this project should be archived to avoid like the information chaos. The project should have a specific structure with SharePoint list, some artifacts there, some default documents. Very nice use case. You see that here from Microsoft Teams. We are talking here about the team, by the way. So here, difficult to read, but there is like the kickoff meeting, some team activities that have already been predefined, so you can roll that out, and also plan a board with project tasks, maybe like the initial task for the first phase of the project, second phase, and that's it. So Ruud, welcome now to focus more on this use case, and let's switch here to Mac. You can handle that better than me. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And it should be mirrored, yes. Okay, let's zoom in a bit. There we go. Now, you guys already saw the interface, so I'm not going to go over that again. What we are going to do today is the list that Jarbas just mentioned about prefix, about default documents uploaded, etc. We're going to create a template. The way we do it, first, the base of a template, the best base of a template is just create a theme and set it up the way you want it to look. Saves you a lot of work, saves you a lot of XML, JSON, whatever, hard to read documents, which are way too long always. So the best way to start is just create a theme that you want to base your template on. I've created a theme. Let me zoom in because this is really small, even for me from here. And this should be better. There we go. Okay, I've created a theme, and the theme contains just one channel. What we also can support is private channels. So not only the normal channels, but also the private channels. In this case, I don't have them. And it's a planner board with some tasks. And this we will handle in a different way. When the template has been created, the teamwork template, after that we will apply a PMP template on top of it. But we've created the theme like this, the way we want it to be. And then we go to the teamwork admin, go to the templates tab and say we are going to create a new template. A wizard is starting and it needed to log in. Nice. Templates. There we go. And in this list, I don't have that much themes, but you also can filter, of course. I want to use this one as my base template, as my starting point for the project template I'm going to create. There we go. What do I want to include? I want to include all the channels I've created. In this case, it's just one channel, but I think you catch my drift. I want to include all the tabs. I want to include all the custom applications if they are there. Shared document libraries, theme icons, whatever. I want to include everything now. There we go. We just give it a name. Partner Summit demo. Demo. Can give it a description. Description page. Does it need to be approved, yes or no? If it's not approved, or if it doesn't need to be approved, it's automatically created. If it needs to be approved, then a default SharePoint approval flow is activated, which you can extend with Power Automate, for example. Yeah, all the privacy settings that Jarbas already showed you, so I'm not going to run through these. And submit it. The template will be automatically created for you. Takes some time, it's a timer job, runs every 15 minutes by default. Of course, you can extend it or make it run faster or more.
We changed the setting now, so it runs basically every minute, just to speed up the process.
Okay, every minute, yeah. Yep. And when it's done, your template is finished. So let me show the template I've, of course, prepared for this one. It's the project with PMP, it's just the name of the template, of course. And what's in it? There we go. Template name, template description. There's a thumbnail for it. And the thumbnail is really handy for users to recognize the template they want to create, to select the template. They immediately see, oh, I need that one, I need that one. If you have nice icons with different colors, for example. And you can also use those colors and they can come back with the new feature that Java showed previously with a color label on the side of the user interface for every group or site there is. Okay, the settings, but let's go into depth now on what is created, because this is just interface stuff and you can click and play it together. That's no issue, you can all do it. Now, what is created on the back end? In the Teamwork admin side, there is a library, Teamwork Web Templates. This is the starting point of a template. What's in there? There should be a project PMP, and that's this one. You have the web template, I don't know what it's called. Let's see, I can't, yeah, web template name column. In the web template name column, this is the title of your template. So let's open this one. What's in there? Is this visible for you guys? Should I zoom in a bit? Let me zoom in a little bit. There we go. This is an XML file. And this XML file tells the Teamwork engine, which is running in the backend in Azure, what needs to be done. For example, just the settings. Should the team be visible? Private, yes or no. Privacy, yes or no. Should the team be externally shared? Yes or no. Mandatory members, minimum number of members, minimum number of owners, for example, mandatory owners. Just all the settings you've created on the wizard and which you can change in the properties of the template in XML format. With some specifics here. A base64 encoded icon. That's the blue icon before in front of the team template. And if we scroll down a bit, now we are seeing what's going to be created in 365. A planner board is created with a default bucket, project initiation phase, with a task, with all your planner things that were in your created project team template in Teams. So they are all extracted and added to the template. Do you need to change something? Just do it in the XML if there's a typo or whatever. Or if you need to add some things, you can just add it in the XML if you take care of the XML syntax, of course. But it's the SharePoint editor, so it shows if you make a mistake or you're forgetting a character that's necessary. Okay, planner. There's a OneDrive created, a Yammer group is created, okay? And there's a Teams created for it. With some settings, of course, the fun settings, always allow the gifts because else it will be a boring team. And with some channels. The general channel, or only one channel is there, but the general channel has a tasks tab. It's a two-stage rocket. First the planner is created, but it's not shown then. It's just a planner, it's in the planner interface. But in Teams, you have to add a tab and link that newly created planner to that tab. Because else it's not shown in Teams and then the user still has to add the tab himself. That's annoying. Okay, the tab is created and there's some configuration there. And the configuration you fetch from the planner settings that are shown here. It's just a GUID, or it's not a GUID, it's a long ID, a resource ID, and you just copy paste it. In there, then Teams knows I have to fetch this planner and show it in this tab. Okay, that's there. Yeah, no extensions or whatever. There's also a SharePoint site created, and it's a modern site. The modern site has a SP color file, just the default color file, but you could create your own color file if that's really necessary for modern sites. That's the question, but there are still some classic features in a modern site, of course, where your styling will be applied. And this is the interesting one. There's also a PMP template applied after the site is created. And with that PNP template, custom columns are created, custom views are created, custom content types are created, and those files are uploaded. So first, all the 365 artifacts are created, the planner board, the themes, the SharePoint modern theme site. And afterwards, the PNP template creates the content types, creates the metadata, creates the views, and uploads the files. Okay. There we go. Let's see. Yep. And here, group metadata. This is a list of all the 365 artifacts that we can create. And you can enable them and set them to default yes or no. Enable true, false, and one of them can be the default one. And what does default mean? When I click here on one of the themes, the default setting is opened. So maybe the Teams is opened, or maybe the SharePoint site is opened, or maybe the planner board is opened. Depends on your default setting in your template. Do I want to open one of the other artifacts? Possible. Just click on the 3 dots and you have the other options there. But if you just click the card here, then the default setting is open. So that's the default thing in the XML overview. There we go. And this is the starting point of the teamwork template. Now let's take a look at the PNP file. Where is the PNP file stored? Modern site, there we go. It is the project site PNP file, and it's stored in the site and then PNP templates folder. So it can also be stored somewhere else, but just keep them in the admin site, and the folder doesn't matter, but by default it's the PNP templates folder. So that's the default way of working. Let's go back to the site content. Site contents, and then to PNP templates. And there's a project site.pnp. Can be a PNP file, can be an XML file. If it's a valid PNP file, then it's just working. But since I want to upload files, I need to use a .pnp file. A .pnp file is basically a zip, which is renamed, and the zip contains those files, contains the PNP template, XML, etc. If you just want to create content types, views, and a default landing page, for example, you can just as well use an XML file. You don't need that zip container for it. Let's download this one. There we go. Show in Finder. And then rename it to zip. Let's see, what's this? Zip. I hope I zoom. Can I zoom? Yes, a bit. It is visible for you guys, I think. Okay. This is the PNP file, the content. Just rename it to zip. And this is extracted. What's in there? A manifest.xml. Okay, fine. It's not that. It's important, but you don't have to change it. What's also in there is a files.origin, also a file that's 0 bytes, so nothing, and a really small content types XML file. Just ignore this one, these files, and let's go to the files directory, because now it's getting interesting. I have a docx, I have a pptx, I have xlsx, and I have another docx. Okay, what happens? Let's go to Teams again. This one, when I zoom in a bit. pptx, docx, docx, xlsx. Those are my 4 Office files, or zip files, or JPEG files, or whatever you want to upload. Those are the files, but they have another name. This is kickoff meeting. In my zip file, it was some guid.pptx. There is a translation file, or a translation file. Yeah, it's a translation file. Was it this one? I have to search for it. Where is it? Ah, files.map. This one. Let's open this one. Oh, open this one instead of rename this one. There we go. And zoom in a bit. This is the file name in the zip. So guid.docx. And it's created /uploaded as shared documents in the general channel because I want to show it in the Teams channel, so it's in the general folder, and then it's named project description.x. Can you follow it? Just a simple translation file. This is my input and it should be uploaded there with that file name. In theory, you should be able to create this yourself, but I'm not sure if it's the same issue as with the old school or the older SPFX packages, the SPPKGs, that you could only extract and zip again with WinRAR, because else they wouldn't work again. And I don't know, but when I did it on my Mac, it didn't work as a PNP template anymore. So what I did is just create the SharePoint site, upload there the documents, and extract the teamwork template from it. Okay, let's go back to this one, because what else is there? I should have this. There's also an XML file. And this is basically the XML file you could also extract just as an XML file with your content types in it, with your views in it, with your columns in it. That's this one. And for those of you who created the PNP XML files, this looks familiar. What are we going to do? We are going to create some custom site fields. We are going to create a custom content type where the site fields which are created are also added. The content type is created on the site level, and we are going to create, or we are going to change the list, documents list, because it's already there, of course, and we are going to add this content type ID. And this content type ID is the same content type ID from the created content type project document. So first you create a content type with some content type ID. And then you say, I want to add that content type ID to the documents list. Yeah? That documents list also has custom views. One of the views is, it's grouped by the metadata column project phase. And one of the views is, let's see, project phase, for example, project planning, this one. And then the view is, where is it? Oh yeah, this one. The field project phase equalizes the value project planning. But this is just the back end. If you use PNP to extract that template, then it's doing this automatically for you. So like magic. Okay. Yep, there we go. A lot of views are there, so let's scroll through them. We have for every project phase, we have a view. And I think that's about it. Yep. Oh no, we also have, I overwrite a landing page with some other setting. So home.aspx will be overwritten with another layout with some other web parts on it. Just place the web parts with all your settings on the home page, extract the PNP template, and you're done. Okay. What is created then? We already saw the teams. We have some views over here. One project initiation, planning, execution, etc. For example, I want to see all the planning documents. That's only the XLSX, just based on a simple SharePoint choice list with 5 values in it, just to keep it plain and simple. But from an end user point of view, just create that template, that project template. They don't have to worry about content types and adding those project phases, etc. Everything is done for them. And that's the power of teamwork. Everybody can create a really handy project site. And they don't have to know SharePoint content types and columns, etc. It's just done for them. So that's the great way to do it. I did have, I believe, let's see, one thing I want to open, the commands involved. Where is it? This one. And they're not there anymore. Nice. One thing I wanted to show you. No, I have to start up a VM and it will take way too much time. What is used? No, one moment. I want to show it because else it will not make sense. Yeah. One moment. Going to start my production team, so don't know what is in there. And since it's recorded, let's not do it. There we go. Yeah, I did create a draft version of the content. And we are a really agile company because we are using Google Presentation and PowerPoint just side by side, so we can just switch really easily. We had some comments that we used Google Presentations and not PowerPoint. And I can get it, yeah. So, yeah, that's yeah. Okay, first, you need to install the PnP commandlets. I think if you are going to do this, that you have them already, but it's a PowerShell command. And you connect to your PnP online site, so the site you created to act as the base or the starting point for your template. Connect to that URL, and what you do then, get PnP site template. You specify an output file, so -out and then the path and file name .pnp, and you specify a configuration file. And the configuration file is important because if you do not use the configuration file, everything is extracted and then the thing is way too big and a lot of things you don't want are also extracted and applied on a new site. So, and you have to set the configuration file to include files. If you just extract the PnP template, files are not included by default. So let me show you the config file for this one. Close this one and then config.json. It's just a JSON file. It shouldn't be that hard to open, but there it is. There we go. This one, the third line, this one is an important one. This tells the PnP extraction to include your the files also in the site. And these handlers are important because you want to include files, you want to include content types, fields, lists, pages, but nothing else. If you do not set these handlers, or maybe you want extra handlers, that's fine, but if you do not set these handlers, a lot of extra things are included in the PnP package, and you don't want it. And then we only are going to extract one list, just the documents list, not the site assets, not the whatever list you have there, just the documents list. If you want to extract extra lists, just add them to here, of course, but in this case, only the documents list is included. And we also want to include the pages, and in this case, I want to include all the site pages, but you also could limit it to just home.aspx or something. Just a config file for your PnP commandlet to extract the site template. Most of it, I think everything can also be done by switches in the command itself, but the config file is easier. Then you just have it at hand, you can change it really easy. It's easier to use the config file than to have such a PnP command to do it. Okay, then let's go back to the PowerPoint, because we need to do something else. With this command, the PnP file is created based on the config.json config file. And this was just some things we should tell, and I told them handlers to set what you want to include. I want to include the files, I want to include the pages, I want to include the metadata, the content types, etc. Then limit it to only the libraries you want to include. So not everything, but only documents, for example. And then tell that files should be included and that persist asset files thing is true. Then you have a PNP file. You can link it from the XML and then upload it yourself in the PNP directory via site contents, or you can just use the properties of a template and then link it in provisioning engines. Then you have just a click and place solution to upload it and link it automatically. That's what it is. And then you are going to test it. And while testing it, in my case, it always fails multiple times. So I have to debug some stuff. How to debug it? You go to your resource group where your, let me zoom in a bit. There we go. You go to the resource group where your app service is stored, where it's running. In this case, it's just my tenant name, Valo app service. When you open this one, you scroll down to web jobs, and you have 3 web jobs here. The names are quite meaningful. Teamwork Auto Archiver just checks if teams or groups need to be archived based on date or whatever. Teamwork Group Sync. Teams are sometimes for some use cases are fetched and stored in a Cosmos DB to speed up the process. If you have larger environments and you want to fetch 10,000 teams via graph, it takes ages. It takes way too long. So we are syncing them to a Cosmos DB, and that's way faster than waiting for Microsoft to have them deliver everything.
Just a more detail here, like we maintain this Cosmos database with all data about all teams and groups that you have in your organization, and that information is used in Teamwork Dashboard and that Groups tab and Analytics. So and that's way faster than doing that like on the fly. So that's what we.
That's the sync. Yeah. And then we have the Valo Teamwork Continuous. This is continuous since 5.0, I believe. Yeah. So if you have an older Teamwork version, then it's just triggered every 15 minutes, for example. This is running continuous and is triggered by a what is called a webhook in the SharePoint admin list. So debugging, open this, click on this one and go to logs. And then this isn't the fast interface of Azure, but it's working. Then you see tries to do stuff. Of course, everything was successful. No, there should be something failed. But the number 4140 is the row ID of the order. So if you have a bit busier environment and you need a 5, 6, 7 old order, for example, then you can just look up the row ID and search for this one over here. And now let's go. We have 2 times 41. One ran 2 seconds, so that did almost nothing. The other one ran for 3 minutes. Let's open this one. Although it didn't fail, you can just check it and click on toggle output. Only the last rows are shown, but if you click on download, then you have just your logging, what happened. There might be some retries. I'm quite sure there will be retries every order you do, because the group will be created. Then it's checking, is the group already there? No, it's not there. Is it already there? No, it's not there. Is it already there? Yes, it's there. Then it continues with the next step. So if you see retries, no problem. Microsoft isn't fast enough at the moment. That's what happens basically. So this is just creating stuff. Where's my PNP? Of course, I could use search, I think, but this is still creating 365 stuff. Come on. Yeah, is it? Where? Ah, here, yeah. Here it's starting to apply my PNP template. This is just my default logging. If the PNP template fails, then you see what is happening and you see the error of PNP, which is thrown. Most of the times it's meaningful. So this way you can debug what is happening with your template. Just go to your, you need access to your resource group and you need access to your app service plan or your app service. But if you have access to it, you can just look in the logging. What's happening? Why is it failing? Is it Microsoft maybe throwing an error on the Graph API for some reason? It's not only issues with PnP that you can debug. No, you can just debug everything that has been done. And again, if you see retries, no issue, because it just takes time before things are replicated on the Graph backend, etc.
And sometimes Microsoft Graph or Microsoft in general is unstable. So you need like to perform these retire operations to make sure that the operation happens. That's unfortunately a reality, like when doing these operations like on the back end.
Yep. Questions? You are first.
Okay, so as far as I understand, teamwork is a great tool and that it starts making sense if you disable the team creation from all users, right?
Yeah.
So as far as I recall, this possible only by a browser, or at least it was 2 months before.
Yeah.
Last time. Is it still like that?
In most companies, it is disabled to create your own teams. In bigger companies, and you need to fill in a form to have IT do his magic. And then the annoying thing, if you use the default SharePoint way of working to create teams, you can add tabs, but it's only a tab. You have to add that planner or that notebook or that OneNote yourself. A normal project manager will not do that because they don't bother, and then you cannot upload your files in it. So yes, you could do a bit the same with Microsoft and with their basic templating possibilities, but then only tabs are created and not the full Monty.
And empty tabs, right?
Empty tabs.
Without any configuration.
Yeah. You have to link the planner yourself.
No. Or documents or anything.
That's. Yeah.
So we need to disable creation for all users. And then what rights provide for the administrators? What permissions the administrators that will approve the requests in Teamwork?
You need to be a member or an owner of the Teamwork admin site. Mm-hmm. Or if you create your own Power Automate flow, then it can do anything. User, then it depends on your flow.
This area with the Teamwork admin, this is a SharePoint site collection. It's just managing SharePoint permissions. So if any user in the organization has access there,
only SharePoint.
they can access it.
Yeah. With one difference, you could take ownership of a team in the admin. That's only possible when you're an owner of that site collection and not a normal member.
And one more, if it's okay. Can we add any kind of tabs from the available applications and it will be part of the deployment? Or
You can add applications indeed to your Teamwork template,
For example, projects instead of planner.
Yeah.
The thing is that like some tabs we support not just like creating the tab as an empty tab that the user needs to configure. Basically all tabs you can create them. Some of those will be like empty, the same as Microsoft, and other tabs we support advanced like scenarios where we are able to provision stuff. Like Planner, we provision the content. Documents, we provision the document. So you get everything configured.
Yep.
So there are some tabs that you have basically everything configured as in the template, and other tabs it gets created empty. There is a documentation about what's supported.
Yep.
You mentioned that the new version of Teamwork you switched to the Cosmos DB. From active tables, I believe. But for instance, when if any of our customers are still on Teamwork 4.0, for instance, and we'd like to add a PnP template.
It's possible, no problem. No, the switch to Cosmos DB is from a user or admin point of view is just speed. Mm-hmm. For us, it's a little bit more important, but for an admin point of view, just speed. And the continuous web job, which is now type continuous, it's creating teams a bit not faster, but
Yeah.
right away.
Now
They
the-
don't have to wait 50 minutes if it just passed.
The previous provisioning process was triggered on, what's it called? On a schedule, no, like every 50 minutes.
Yeah, just
And-
like these, just like these.
Yes, and this one is queue-based. So we have webhook sending the data, and when something is in the queue, is sent from the webhook, it starts like the provisioning process. It's much faster than like before.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
It's immediately basically. So you create, there is the delay from the webhook. It's up to 5 minutes unfortunately, but usually it goes very fast. Then it comes in the queue and Teamwork process that.
One thing, .pmp files are supported from 4.0?
I think it's even 3 or 4.0, something like that.
Okay. Yeah, first it was only XML PMP
Yeah.
files, but .pmp files, I believe 4.0, but maybe 3.
3, I can't remember, but
But the real old versions, no, they don't. They only support .xml PMP files. Yeah.
thank you. Yeah.
It's another question follow. Microsoft just announced that there will be a banner or header picture in Teams.
In the channel.
So
You mean, yeah?
So it would be nice to
Yeah.
have a template.
Yes.
Already prefix picture.
Yeah, that's
You know,
that's.
the thing is that the product is moving to maintenance mode, and that makes this type of
This is
invest.
another question why it's a great product. Why?
Exactly. It doesn't fit the core strategy of Staffbase. Staffbase is employee comms. This product is governance. So it's more like an admin. It's not an audience that they want to serve, and so it doesn't fit like the overall strategy.
Yeah.
And now it's looking for a new home, which can be a partner interested in taking over. We have so 500 customers using the product, large organizations, and yeah,
It's an enterprise
the
product.
product has almost everything it needs. No, you can definitely keep improving it, but for the price that we have been selling it for, it's enough. No? For the small, for especially middle-sized customers who have these needs for having the maintenance and so on. So that's perfect.
Yep. Questions? Okay, great.
All right, thank you very much. It was nice having you.